frowned upon to discriminate against someone for the color of their skin. Even so, racism and discrimination are still a large problem to this day. However, this separation reaches past humans, to the world of our furry friends. Last year in the United States, 3 to 4 million dogs were euthanized. Roughly 1/3 of these dogs were the American Pit Bull Terriers. This breed has received the short end of the stick for decades, and as a result has become the #1 most euthanized breed. Of course, this has not always been the case. During World War I, they were actually one of the most popular breeds and were put on many recruitment posters. This personification lasted throughout most of the century. American culture huddled around the athletic ability of the dogs. Their strong figure acted as a tough model for soldiers who aspired to be in the war. It wasn't until the late 1960s, when dogfighting became more popular, that the United States began drowning the pit bulls in a sea of generalizations that contain stereotypes as ridiculous as the one that says all black people are athletic. American pit bulls are commonly believed to be savage, untrained, and vicious animals. They have gained their poor reputation through many different ways, of course, none of which being the actual pit bull's fault. In April of 2007, rumors began to emerge that Michael Vick, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, was involved in dogfighting. As the investigation began to gain publicity, more and more dogfighting rings began to emerge. Investigation discovered that underperforming dogs were shocked with a taser, beaten, whipped, or executed. Executed for failing to perform the vulgar task of killing another dog, one of which he had most likely grown up with. Often, these dogs are not just strangers to each other, but brothers and former kennel mates. Putting them against each other is just as savage as forcing two brothers to fight to the death. Pictures of extremely muscular and beat-up dogs spill down into all forms of the media and help fuel the already strong generalization that all pit bulls are vicious. They are not vicious, just misunderstood. Of course, it would be inaccurate to say there are no bad pit bulls out there. In fact, they are often purchased as an item by misguided owners to increase their macho image. Every year, thousands of pit bulls are adopted by cruel people who have no intention of giving the dog a good home. These dogs are starved, beaten, or just mistreated. The owners, commonly drug dealers seeking extra protection, are no better than an abusive mother or father. Because these dogs are beaten, underfed, and undertreated, they become vicious. Imagine if you were to grow up in the same circumstances. Would you grow up to be such a kind person? Of course not. On the opposite side of the spectrum, however, almost every dog that was raised under a kind and loving owner turned out like any other dog raised under the same circumstances. It's very important that these animals are treated under these circumstances because of their large and muscular bodies. Truthfully, they are very impulsive and strong. It's essential that they learn how to act around other dogs and humans. As my father was moving toward the end of his college education, his roommate and him decided they wanted a dog. Wanting to adopt rather than purchase one, they responded to an ad for a litter filled with mixed breed dogs. Among the sea of dogs, there was a small pit bull, no more than 10 weeks old. It sat in the corner, shivering, covered in chains, filled with worms. Great. Seeing how desperate it was, my father and his roommate adopted the dog and named it Fester. My father later married, and soon Fester wove his way into my family and turned out to be a protective yet gentle pet, never putting another dog or human in danger. Now you might be wondering, what damage can a reputation really do? Well, only 1 out of every 600 pit bulls ever find a permanent home. The other 599 fill up 40 to 50% of shelters, while 75% of shelters euthanize pit bulls on the spot. The idea that pit bulls are any different than any other breed of dog is ridiculous. The idea that pit bulls never find a permanent home is ridiculous. The sad truth that pit bulls are any different than any other dog is ridiculous. Unfortunately, this problem goes further. Breed-specific legislation adopted by hundreds of U.S. cities is on the rise and here to stay. Advocators claim that the American Pit Bull Terrier is a dangerous dog that puts their population in danger. Banning a specific dog to reduce the amount of dog attacks is ridiculous, considering every dog is potentially an attacker. Supporters of this legislation believe that either pit bulls continue to be euthanized in mass numbers, or this ban becomes nationwide. Fueling this case, the media tends to amplify pit bull attacks, but leaves attacks from other breeds in the dark, further spreading the generalization that all pit bulls are dangerous. Former police officer of the state of Iowa, Jim Sack, is in danger of losing his long-term police dog and best friend because the city he lives in has strict pit bull laws. Jim is disabled and relies on his pit bull when his condition worsens. Anti-pit bull legislation puts this man's well-being and family in jeopardy. This senseless law needs to be abolished so this man should keep his dog, so he can keep his best friend, so that he, along with thousands of others, can live freely. It may be easy for you to say, well, they are just dogs. That is no excuse. All animals, but more specifically, all dogs deserve to be treated equally. It is a tragedy that these dogs are killed and looked down upon just because of false, immature stereotypes. If we want our pit bulls to be treated fairly, we want equality for this poor breed, we must all do our part to be the guardian angel that they deserve. They open up their heart and their entire life to their owner. Pit bulls don't hurt people, our culture hurts people. We as a community must all do our part to make sure that they are paid back. If you ever find yourself being approached by a pit bull, pet it and show everyone how harmless they truly are. If you ever find yourself near someone who's speaking of the dangers of a pit bull, correct them and show them how harmful their words truly are. If you ever find yourself in the market for a long-term companion, consider a pit bull, because you are not only acquiring a new best friend, but actually saving that dog's life.